We're live.
We're live! We're live! Hello! Hi, beautiful people. And hi, my darling dearest.
Hi, Andi.
Hi, Elissa. Whoever's watching this from wherever, I thought that I would let you yeah, right. Let us know where you are in the world. That'd be cool to just like track where it goes. I thought that I would let you in on a little conversation with one of my dear, dear, dear sisters. She has just landed in Bali, obviously a place that I've spent lots of time, better part of the past 5 years. And I want to give her all of the insider tips. And I was thinking, wow, those are super valuable. Other people might want those insider tips too. And so the idea was to create a little bit of a conversation here, a question and answer thing. And I'm always available if anyone has any other questions. My website's currently liveforvitality.com. If that changes, then it'll come through here. But yeah, I'm always available for questions. But Elissa has a huge arsenal of questions on her own, and I have so many things that I want to share with her about Bali in general and about Ubud. I want to start also for you, my love, to just let you know that obviously I moved out of Bali, and so it is no longer, or maybe was ever, the amazing tropical paradise. And so I do have a jaded perspective, and so I always start with my biases, and that is my bias. That doesn't mean that it can't be a place of healing and growth and transformation and beauty for so many people who flock there. And it is one of these vortexes on the earth, like Sedona, Arizona, like all of these other places. And I think how I want to start, just before getting into any questions or even welcoming or saying which homestay you're staying at that I sent you to, is explaining a little bit about Bali. And I used to do this for my detox retreat welcome dinners. Anyone who's watching this, maybe who has been on my detox retreats, the night before the last supper, because they were fasting retreats, we would have, I know, I've tried to pretend every time I wasn't Jesus. Totally off color, not appropriate. As we would sit down to this to this dinner, I would kind of ground everyone in where we are, where you are right now in Bali. It is an island, right, in the Indonesian archipelago, the island chain of thousands, literally, of Muslim islands. Bali is the one little special island that is Hindu, and it's a very different Hinduism than I know from years living in India. It's called Agama Hindu. It is a Balinese version of Hinduism that was taken from the Orissa, from a part of India north of Tamil Nadu on the east coast. The diaspora went generations ago to all the way through Indonesia, through the Malaysian Peninsula and down, and swept over. So when we look at, is my lighting going in and out?
Yeah, but it's okay.
Okay. When we look at the history of this place, because you can't know where you are until you know how it's come to be. We look at first Bali as a tropical island. That it was literally a place that didn't look like rice fields before. It looked like a tropical rainforest jungle. It was a tropical island, right? More or less uninhabited. And as people started spewing out through the peninsula that was Malaysia, all the way down into Indonesia, as the islands broke off, as tectonic plates shift, and I don't know the timeline for all of this, but you can look it up if you're interested. A lot of human history comes in the story of religion, and this is something that we know. And the first wave to sweep over this island chain after people settled, and there was animism, which is any kind of nature worshiping religion. As an anthropologist, right, animism is what we study. It's all the way all over the world. It's spirit worshiping, you could say, or it's communication. Paganism is a form of animism. That term pagan came from the Celtic Christianity of the Celtic era, and had a negative connotation because of that. But any kind of spirit worshipping, which is very apparent still today in Bali, is at the base of pre-religion. And then as we had people spreading their own ideas through the path of religion, the first thing that swept over Southeast Asia was Buddhism, right? So Buddhism swept, And it was definitely very alive and well in Bali. This is why I always say they have lovely smiles, right? It's a happy Buddhist silence kind of atmosphere. And then from there, what swept next is a wave of Hinduism, which I discussed, coming from Orissa. And then, of course, sweeping over Malaysia all the way down through Indonesia was Islam. But there you have it, Islam stopped at the edge of Java, just the island west of you right now. And so as Islam stopped there, Bali remained Hindu. And so that's why it's this one little special place in this massive island chain that is fully Islam. In fact, Indonesia is the largest Islamic country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so just rooting in that and seeing those different layers, it's like, I don't know what the food example, a tiramisu, like a lasagna, the different layers. A sand used to make those sand colored things of awareness that's made it to be what it is. And so you very much still see the animism, you see the rooting in the spirit worshiping through the offerings that you're going to see people make every single day. So the offerings are made out of natural materials historically. And this was a big part of my master's thesis research for, I don't know if even you know, the first time I went to Bali 5 years ago was to do my master's field research. And like pretty much everyone else and probably you, I was inspired by the story of eat, pray, love, but not in the same way where I wanted to find myself, because I had been living in intentional community and on the path of self-discovery, teaching yoga, all of this. It was because I was really interested in the medicine practices of the Balian, which are very few and far between and hard to find today. So I went to Bali with a consideration of studying herbal medicine, but what I ended up studying there, because it was a master's of science in ethnobotany, was change in diet over 3 generations amongst ethnic Balinese. And so the conclusions of my thesis were very clear, that there has been what's called a nutrition transition, that there's been a huge dietary change. As lifestyle changes, people eat less plant-based food, less food that's whole and colorful, and more food that's processed, that's made of refined things like sugar and wheat, more animal products, and all of these have an inflammatory effect on the system and create ripeness for disease, essentially. And so you see diabetes, cancer, autoimmune diseases, heart disease, and obesity skyrocketing in places like Bali, where that was never seen before 2, 3, 4, 5 generations ago. Simply didn't exist. These are diet and lifestyle related diseases that are reversible as well as preventable, of course. And so tangent. But
Can I ask you a question back to the main thing? How did
Totally.
Bali stay Hindu/Buddhist roots, all the things, while clearly at some point the other islands went Muslim?
So it was because of the sphere. If you look at the map,
Mm-hmm.
and you were, and I mean, I'm no expert, so I'll ask a history expert for sure, but you were to string out the Indonesian island chain, Bali is literally almost in the middle of it. You have Sumatra and Java, these huge islands, and so that was easy to conquer, let's say, from Malaysia and Singapore, Malaysia, down all the way through. And then on this side as well, there's a lot of influence from more Eastern Asia. It kind of swings up. There's also an Indonesian part of Borneo, Kalimantan, north towards Malaysia. Are we gonna eat in this?
Yeah, we can totally eat. I'm already eating my. So okay, I'm gonna pull up a map, and will you
Tell everyone?
will you tell everyone? Will you explain this to everyone? So
You're so gorgeous.
help me point to like where you're talking. So okay. Bali's right here. This is where we are.
Exactly.
The reason
you
I'm
see how it's
because there's islands over here and there's islands over here.
but look at Makassar, north. So all the way north to Sulawesi, so east of where you are there. So that's Kalimantan, which is Indonesian Borneo, and all of that is also Indonesia. So if you took this like a necklace, Bali's like that pearl at the center. So again, when you ask me why didn't it go Muslim when everything else did, it's just human migration, and it's this kind of patterning. But I don't know more than that. You'd have to check with an expert. Got it.
Okay, that's really interesting.
It makes sense spatially. It definitely makes sense spatially. And so So yeah, Bali itself as an island, while you have this up, I recommend people get off. So my first tip, and if this isn't a jaded bias tip, is to get out of Bali. And so Elissa, really please, in this month, I would strongly encourage you to take 3 days, 4 days max. That's all you need. And fly to where it says Nusa Tenggara. So it's actually 3 islands.
Past Lombok.
It's past Lombok, yes. So this is East Nusa Tenggara, is which they call it. And actually, you know what? It's one more island past that because it's Timor. So there we go. Right there this is my favorite part of Indonesia. It's Flores is the Portuguese name for it in colonial times. Okay. And so what you do, you fly in right there. So see where it says Rinca on the left side? There's a little city called Labuan Bajo. Not Bajo. We're not in Mexico anymore. Toto. Labuan Bajo. So you fly into there. The flight from Bali, 400,000, which is like $30, and you can buy it on the same day.
Okay.
And fly 1, 2, 3 from Denpasar. You land there, and then I'll have to send it to you somehow. Michael, my absolute best friend, he and I made a 4-day itinerary that is near sheer perfection of where to go and what to do around that area. But I'm telling you, like volcanic crater lakes, waterfalls that have carved out the sides of mountains, and you can jump off into the pristine water. Like, it is untouched. It is that jungle and that space that you just don't find in Bali anymore, because what happened as humans came into Bali is that they started cultivating, as we domesticate plants, a la agriculture. Bali became an island of rice fields, and it's known for the rice terraces, which everyone loves to go tour. You can go 20 minutes north of Bali and see some of the most famous rice terraces in Bali. There's also, so if you want to take notes, there's Jati Lui, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Super brilliant. It is, Jati Luwih.
Luwih. Jati Lui. And that again.
I'm telling you, I didn't know what rice could taste like until I had rice right there at the rice fields. Delicious heirloom red, black varieties of rice. I mean, I don't eat rice anymore. Side note, you have to check out my health stuff if you want to know more about that. But incredible to be there in the midst of the UNESCO World Heritage Site fields. And seriously, the thing about agriculture in general, and I'm speaking as a botanist here, especially as a gastroethnobotanist dealing with food plants, the soil is what dictates not only the nutritional value, but also the taste, the secondary chemical compounds of the flavonoid, the flavors. And so, beyond, you must. And you can do a day trip on your bike from Ubud, no problem. Wear a helmet, non-negotiable always. I think I have an extra helmet in my house that you can use. Awesome. So, yeah. Jati Lui, there is I'm going back a few years. There is a hot springs near there that I would recommend that you just bundle it into the same day trip. And so at Jati Lui, you just kind of go and walk around in the rice fields and hang out. This watermelon, this organic watermelon from Netherlands is delicious, but I will tell you, you'll find watermelon all over Bali. Never eat it. It is so filled with chemicals.
Oh, really? Okay, I had some this morning. Oops.
It's okay. I still love you, but
I won't do it again. Do we need anything else on the map right now?
So, to be honest, I spent most of my time in Bali that I haven't traveled too much beyond the normal Lombok, and then my trips to Flores. And we also went to the other side. We went back 3 times, I think.
What about the Ghillie Islands? Everyone always talks about the Ghillie Islands.
Of course, the Ghillies. Yes, I've been to the Ghillies. So the Ghillies are off the coast of Lombok. They're up there where you see Mataram. It's up north of there. These teeny, tiny little islands. There you see the 3 blop, blop, blop. So as they are, Gili T is the one closest, and Gili T or Trawangan is the party island. Just super, huge judgment here. I'll say that.
For the Australians, though.
She's so cute. No, I mean, it's not only that they're Australian, it's that they're drunk all the time and they're loud and they're partying and there are drugs there, and it's just not a scene that me or you, perhaps you or perhaps anyone watching this really wants to hang out in.
Well,
so
you and I, we should actually say you and I met at Burning Man this past year. So,
which is a very different party.
Which is a very, well, yes, but that type of party does exist at Burning Man these days. And we can say that you and I don't participate in that type of party. We just like bike around on our bikes and eat really healthy food.
And talk about love and manifesting.
I do yoga and talk about love and manifesting. Exactly. Okay. So I understand. It's like the...
You want to say anything about who you are? So...
Oh, sure. You want me to introduce myself?
Please, I'm sorry. No, sorry.
I don't think you introduced yourself either. I'll introduce myself. My name is Elissa. I'm eating sprouted sunflower seeds. I am a voice coach and a movement teacher. I'm based in New York City. I am from California originally. I've traveled quite a lot in my life. I actually it's interesting that you mentioned the vortex thing, because I've actually spent a good chunk of my life in an area of the planet that I think has a less active, positive, energetic force field, if you will, which is I lived in Edmonton, Alberta, getting my graduate degree there for 2.5 years. So that's kind of my most major extent of living outside of the US. I also studied in London for a semester theater when I was in my undergrad, which I did my undergrad at the University of Southern California. So I basically spent the first 27 years of my life living in California, and then moved up to Edmonton, and now I live in New York. And I, as a teacher, work for myself and run my own business called Voice Body Connection. And I had this moment like 3 or 4 months ago where I was like, oh, I've not taken a break from teaching for longer than a week or 2 in 4 years. And I just was starting to get that, itching feeling that we get, that our well is getting drained and that if we don't refill it, we're going to have a problem. And so I thought to myself that I might want to try to create some sort of sabbatical, if you will. And so it's funny because I had met your friend Kevin, who is also a yoga teacher. That's where I guess the 3 of us, our Venn diagrams intersect. And so I met Kevin when he came to New York in December, and I said to him after taking his yoga class, and he said, come visit me in Bali. And I was like, I will. And then I was like, why did I just say that? And then a couple months later, I was like, oh, where should I take my sabbatical? Sounds like I'm going to Bali. So here I am. And I have been in Bali for just over 24 hours at the time of this recording.
And what are your first impressions?
First impressions are that it is familiar, actually. Isn't that weird? It feels really, I feel very comfortable here. I've actually, a couple times in my life when I've taken like mini-year sabbaticals, I've gone to Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. And there's something about the energy of Puerto Vallarta in here that feels similar to me. Some of like the streets that run along the coast actually even look somewhat similar. And the locals are so friendly and everyone speaks such good English, which is ridiculous. And I feel way too privileged about that. And it's like, I purposefully didn't do much research. I talked to you a little bit. I talked to another friend, my friend Bronte, who had been here quite a bit for the past 2 months. Like, definitely did a little bit of research, but purposefully didn't really plan anything or do too much research, because I just wanted to show up and be like, hi universe, move me. So here I am, and it's beautiful, and I feel peaceful and at home. And I woke up with the sunrise this morning, even though I didn't set an alarm. And this window here at Banana Homestay happens to be, I'm on like the topmost floor, and my window is eastern facing, so I like got to watch the sunrise very easily. And it's one of my favorite things, and it's gorgeous here. Special.
So I'll do the banana homestay plug since you already have to it. So this has been my landing pod whenever my house was rented or I was doing something that required me to need a homestay in the center of town. Banana Homestay. I love the family that runs it. They are super genuine, which unfortunately isn't every family that you come to anymore in Bali, because where there's tourism, there's money, and where there's money, human greed develops. But this family is just absolutely beautiful, and they just expanded in the back. Are you in the buildings in the back?
Yeah. Am I? I don't know.
So they used to, I haven't been there since. They used to only have, I think, 2 rooms. And so it was very much this intimate family feel.
Yes, I'm in the rooms in the back. Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure you are. Yeah, take us outside. So it's also right next to a family temple, so you can see outside. Those rooftops are so familiar. I made a yoga time lapse.
So they're doing construction down in the temple right now. Can you see that?
Yeah, the sound of construction is the most common Balinese sound.
Yeah, it seems like it is. And this is the direction. So my back is now facing east right now. So this is the direction that the sun rose this morning. Yay! That's really pretty. I'm up high here. Mm-hmm.
A picture of me and say the girl who speaks Bahasa Indonesian says hi.
Okay, I will.
Say, oh!
It's Buddha is the person who runs the place, yeah?
Is that his son?
Probably. I haven't met
him. I always refer to everyone. So when you live in Bali, I mean, people are normally, so this is a good thing to learn. Wayan is the name of the firstborn.
Wayan is, sorry, say it again.
The name of the firstborn. We'll get back to the Ghillies, so we'll leave the map up for a second more. Wayan is the name of the firstborn, and it can variations on that. Like sometimes it's Eka, which means 1. Secondborn is named Made. Yeah.
Okay.
Thirdborn is named Nyoman. And the fourthborn is Kadek. Oh no, Ketut. Sorry, Ketut. The second one can also be called Kadek if it's not Made. So you'll see this is the naming system. You're the firstborn, that's your name, and it can be like Ni, Wayan, something, 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 Deka, Iwa, whatever, and that's Ni for female and E or just an I for male. That's their full name. And so Balinese are named very long, and normally like the name Ayu means beauty, but they would be a Ni Dewa, which is one of the first ones, Ayu, Eka, Putri, whatever it may be. Long name, meaning lots of things, embracing Sanskrit, which they do, but also the meld into Indonesian, which is influenced by Arabic. And so when you come to the language, and that's just a side note that I'll say, Balinese is what's spoken amongst the Balinese people in Bali. If they're speaking to someone from Java or somewhere else, or someone like me, because I didn't learn Balinese, I learned Indonesian, which is Bahasa Indonesia. It's a much actually easier language, related, but different language. And so the Balinese will speak Balinese amongst them, but to a foreigner who might speak the language, or someone else from actually Malaysia, the language of Bahasa Malaysia, the language of Malaysia is so similar to Indonesian that they'll speak in Indonesian. And so, yeah, that's a little language.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I'm going to bring you back inside just because the Wi-Fi is better, but.
Okay, good. If you're writing this down, or anyone watching writing this down, important words that I think you should know are salamat, which means, it comes from salam, from Arabic, which means peace, or shalom in Hebrew. It's the same kind of root word. So salamat in Indonesian, it means good, essentially. So you say salamat pagi, P-A-G-I, which means good morning. People are very, very, very adamant about greeting each other. When you do speak Indonesian, they'll often say "Mau kemana?" It's like a thing. It's a thing in society. Like in Chinese society, you greet someone by saying, "Have you eaten rice?" That's your question.
Oh, really?
Have you eaten today? Yeah. Ciao, fun, ma. And so in Indonesia, or at least in Bali, the question is "Mau kemana?" Where are you going? Mau, want to, ke, to, mana, where. Where are you going? And so people, like, there were times throughout my existence there where I was like, why do you care where I'm going? Or like, I don't want to tell you where I'm going. but it's really just one of those tics almost that in society they say, where are you going? And when you meet Balinese people, they'll almost always ask your name, your age, where you're from, if you're married. And it's
no one's asking me.
You'll get it, I promise. It's a normal thing.
But my boyfriend will be here in a couple of weeks. I'll come back and introduce you. Is that what I should say?
Yeah, you say whatever you want. I mean, you say whatever you want. In general, it's not a threat. Although, do you know, good side note here. Wow, so many side notes coming out. Balinese men are known to be
pushy?
Active outside of their monogamous marriage.
Got it.
Yeah, so it's a very common thing, whether they're active with other Balinese women or with foreign women, since foreign women are just so present in Bali today. So be aware of that just because a guy's married doesn't mean that he won't try to hit on you or do something with you. And then this isn't a threat or anything. It's just know that that's normal. Okay. So where were we? We were at words to learn. So salamat pagi, and pagi is morning. Siang, S-I-A-N-G, is midday. Mm-hmm. So salamat siang would be like lunchtime. And it's all very relative. It's like 11 to 2, more or less, is siang. And then after that, afternoon is sore, S-O-R-E. Salamat sore, it's afternoon, after lunch. People take naps at this time. And then you go all the way up to more or less sunset, or after dinner. And then it's malam, which is nighttime. Selamat malam, good night. And I would usually say, Selamat malam, mimpi indah, sweet dreams. Mimpi is dream, indah is beautiful. So beautiful dreams is what you say. If you want to say literally sweet dreams, you say mimpi manis. Manis means sweet.
Cool.
So that's your greetings. In Indonesian language, which is for all of the islands and Malaysia. In Balinese, there are some specific Balinese words to know because it's, as an anthropologist and someone who's traveled to 50 some odd countries, it's important to show respect to the local culture through embracing the language. And so in Bali, whenever you enter a household, you walk inside the gates and you say, Om Swastiastu. And this is obviously from Sanskrit. It's an invocation. Swa, oneself. I don't know how you would translate the rest. Swastiastu. But it's calling in the divine. Om Swastiastu. It's this like, God is in this house. Hello. That kind of statement. And so you'll see it written over the doors as well in Balinese text or Balinese writing, which is different than Indonesian writing. Indonesian language uses the romantic characters, the Roman letters. And mind you, Indonesian as a language was something that was invented. It was one of these invented languages. Mm-hmm. To unite.
At a certain point, right?
Sure. But it was in the 70s. It was like yesterday.
Oh.
To unite all of the Indonesian island chains, all of the Indonesian island chain and all of the islands, they needed one language to unify it as a nationalist country. And so Indonesian was chosen. So if you go to Balinese grandmothers, which mind you, a lot of people in Bali don't necessarily live, like 80 is super old in Bali. It's not going to be like your grandparents or mine where they're in their 90s or beyond. That's hard to find. You can find it more if you go up in the villages where foreigners would normally never go, but people do die young because of this change in diet and lifestyle, and just because it's less developed country, it's normal. So in Bali, if you do see people who are older in their 80s or so, they likely won't even speak Indonesian, right? Because pre that time they only speak Balinese, and so just interesting stuff there. But Om Swastiastu, whenever you enter a house, I do it sometimes if I enter a restaurant, although it's normal like when you're going into a family compound. And I'll take a side note on the family compound to just share, because I want to share everything that I can.
Yeah, I want to click out of the screen and we can look at you. Is that good? We'll come back to Ghillie Islands.
Okay, yeah. Don't mind me to come back. Okay. So Balinese family compound, it originally was long, and Balinese architecture, it's very Virgo. It's very intentional. I say Virgo astrologically, it's like the priest. It is the priest. It is this energy of, you had some Virgo in your chart, no?
Mm-hmm. I forget what, was it my ascending sign?
Was it? Did I tell you that's your sole purpose? To be the priestess?
Libra. No, I don't know if I actually have Virgo in my chart.
Your body looks like you do, girl.
Even? Like
long, slender.
Slender?
Long fingers, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll pull back up your chart.
Okay.
I had the great pleasure of giving Elissa an astrology reading for your birthday.
Yes, and actually I haven't watched it again yet. I was going to watch it as soon as I get here, so I can watch it again and I can do my homework.
Brilliant. And that's brilliant to reflect on. And I'll say that a lot of people come to Bali and they'll get readings and they'll get personality diagnostic and human design and all of these different things, tarot card readings. Novi is a great person that I would recommend if you're interested in tarot. You can just look up Novi Ubud Tarot. And they do this to practice divination, which is to connect in with the divine, which is, again, this Virgo essence that I described. And if anyone's landing in Bali and you want an astrology reading, there are lots of amazing astrologers there. I can always connect with you on the internet as well, whomever you are, wherever you are. Just go to my website and let me know and we can set something up. But this opening to the divine, to a message or programming or dharma is what we call it, when you're in a place that will allow you to be differently than you are at home. And that's what Bali and especially Ubud is. It's this free exploration ground. And for a lot of foreigners, that's what Asia is at large, because often Asian people are just so affronted by it's not only Westerner, it's not only Europeans and North Americans, it's also South Americans, it's also Sub-Saharan Africans, right? They're coming in, and the Asians, also Australians and Kiwis, they're so different that it's just like, whoa. And this is, it's tangenting too much, but when I first lived in China was when I first understood freedom. Because I was like, I can do anything here and I'm already weird. And so because of that, I just took liberty to be even more weird. And my videos more and more now, and my teachings are coming into this quality of uncensoring yourself, of allowing yourself to fully be expressed rather than being confined by the expectations of society, censoring your thoughts or how you show up because, I'm going to look that way, or people are going to think this, or that's right, or that's wrong even. And from our astrology reading that I don't believe in the perfect prescription of human that we have throughout all societies and times, that we're constantly comparing ourselves to, that when we find out actually who we are and what wants to be expressed through us, like you said, you landed in Bali and you said, okay, universe, move me. When we move from that place, that is dharma. And so that the discovery of that and the lifting of the censorship of anything that's not that is incredibly liberating. And so that's one of the many reasons why people are attracted to Bali and to Ubud, where you are now.
Cool. Yeah.
So other two more important words, and then we can finish words.
Okay.
Maybe we'll go back to those, and then maybe I'll stop talking and let you answer a question.
No.
Ask a question. So other words are Om Swastiastu, which is hello or welcome into a house, and you say it when you enter a house. It's not necessarily welcome, but they'll say it back to you, Om Swastiastu, once you say it. And then Suksumu, which is thank you in Balinese. So not Indonesian, but Balinese. It's Suksumu.
Spell that for me.
So Suksuма. It sounds more like an E than an A at the end because people say Suksuma. Maybe if they have a very American accent.
So it's okay. So I'll speech coach that here. It's more like a schwa. Yeah, more like a Suksuma. Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool.
Perfect. They're gonna say, "Oh my God, you speak Balinese. You're so pintar." Pintar means clever. Smart.
Pintar equals clever.
So yeah. So a side note as well, and that's Indonesian. That's not Balinese. It's Indonesian. But I want to make a side note that I know it was Indonesian was the 5th language I learned. So obviously once you get past 3 or 4, it's easier to learn other languages. but I learned Indonesian in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I tend to function at a more accelerated rate than the norm of humans. But with that said, still, it is the easiest language, I feel, in the entire world. So if you are spending any kind of length of time there, I would encourage people to just take the step and begin. And all you have to do then is hang out with Indonesian people. I mean, I was working at a clinic giving colon hydrotherapy when I was first there 5 years ago, and I was obviously doing my field research, so I had to learn to be able to do interviews out in the field. But I used the intimacy as I was working with Balinese people all the time to speak to them in Indonesian. And of course their English is better than my Indonesian was those first 2 weeks, but I would do it relentlessly, and I would be willing to show up in a vulnerability of making mistakes and sounding like an idiot, you know, lifting the sensors. And so that's how I learned so fast. And people who had lived in Bali for 5-7 years were like, wait, you speak Indonesian and you've been here 2 weeks, or you've been here a month? What? And they didn't get it, but that's just because they never tried. And so even for anyone who's living there watching this, like a lot of the stuff that I've actually shared, I would say that expats who have been living there for a few months to a few years probably know a lot of what I've shared today. And we're just beginning. So
can you talk about the little offerings that are on the street every single day?
Totally. Again, I'm not an expert on this either. But nor are most Balinese people. When you ask a Balinese person why they're doing what they're doing, they'll often give you a reason, like, it's our devotion to the gods. And they won't say more than that, because they haven't been told more than that. When they ask the monku, the priest, the monk, why are we doing this or whatever, or when they ask their parents or whatever, they'll often get the answer, that's how it is. And so there's not, Balinese society at large is not an intellectual society. Mm-hmm. It is a society of practice and of meditation. Originally, Balinese monks were some of the first breatharians.
First what?
Breatharians.
What does that mean?
They fasted all the time. They didn't eat or drink.
Oh.
Living on light kind of stuff. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And fasting used to be a much bigger part of the Balinese religion than it is today. For example, there's Nyepi, which is a very famous holiday. It happens at the end of March every year. It's Balinese New Year. And Bali is famed because it's the only airport in the world that will close down, completely shut down for a holiday. If you think about that, no. Holidays, airports are open everywhere, but Balinese airport closes. Not the rest of Indonesia, just Bali. The airport closes on Nyepi, but everything closes. And it's not just like I'm going outside and I'm hungry and I can't find anything to eat because all the restaurants are closed. You're not allowed to leave your house.
Right.
So everyone, including tourists, so this is for anyone who's going there at the end of March, you must know about Nyepi. It's a day where everyone stays inside. No lights are allowed to be used. It's meant to be a day of silence and meditation and fasting. And of course, it's not so much those things anymore, but they'll use fires to not turn the lights on, not use electricity to cook their food because they're eating. And it's the day of the year with the most beautiful night sky because there's no light. And so you walk outside or look outside your window because you're not allowed to leave. There are people patrolling the streets on Nyepi. You look outside in the sky, miraculous. It looks like you can actually see 1 million stars. It's so special. So
cool.
Once in your lifetime, I think is enough.
Okay, so Nyepi is at the end of March. Okay.
And the day before, there's a big parade all over. Every village will have one where they have the ogo-ogos, which are the demons that scare away bad spirits. They used to be built from plant materials. Now they're built from styrofoam, which is unfortunate because they burn them after.
Realizing, okay, this makes sense. My best friend Michael was in Bali on Nyepi because there was the crazy parade, and then he was like, we're not allowed to go outside right now and no one's letting us eat. Now I understand. And he didn't realize he was going to be there for this.
It's important to know.
Yeah.
For so many reasons, but yeah. And so Balinese parades are pretty common. They're processions to the temple. They happen for everything, but with the ogo-ogo the day before Nyepi, it's especially fantastic. I mean, if you're someone who travels around the world looking for specific festivals to see, then this is one, sure. But otherwise, I try to stay out of Bali and Nyepi because it's just too chaotic. Anyway, so the demons scare away the bad spirits. So, and they take them to every corner of the town and things like this. So, and then they judge on which demon is the best, and that one and burn the rest. And it's burning styrofoam. It's not nice. I had a friend who used to collect the styrofoam after and make beanbags from it. Anyway, so, but then people said, oh, but that's the demon beanbag. Like, no one's going to sit on that. They're very superstitious, what we would call it in the West. Any kind of animist religion where it's based on spirit worshipping has an aura of what we would call superstition. Superstition itself comes from a place of judgment. It's a perspective of there's a negative connotation often to it. So in general, Balinese religion and offerings, which is what you asked about, are appeasements to the gods. And so you have offerings all over the world. Like the Chinese have tons of offerings. You even have offerings in church, right, in Catholic Church, and it's often an offering to your own body as well. You eat the blood and the flesh of Christ, that kind of thing. The act of making an offering is a big part of human devotion. It's often more so, well, yeah, I won't make any generalizations, but the offerings themselves are made from banana leaves, and then there'll always be an assortment of flowers. And something that saddened me during my master's thesis is knowing that even one generation ago, they used to make all the offerings themselves, and they will still spend hours. Balinese women, Nanga, my amazing maid, when you meet her at her house, I love Nanga, member of my dear circle of heart people. She spends out. I mean, she always comes to work like complaining, like I had to spend so long making offerings. Any Balinese woman will tell you that. And the little kids help too, but it takes a long time to make all these offerings that they use because there's a holiday every 3 days in Bali. Mind you, the Balinese calendar is absolutely crazy, and I still can't get my head around it, even after living there for so long and doing my field research there. But you have different lengths of weeks, like this on the
So we lost you for a minute, but you were talking about the calendar, and you were saying how crazy the Balinese calendar is.
I'm found. I lose myself sometimes. So Balinese calendar, the average week, or like the set week, will have 5 days. And then there are some weeks where there's 1 day. There's some weeks where there's 3 days. And it's all lunar, and only a monk will really understand it. But because of that, there's a holiday like every 3 days. They celebrate the dark moon, which is the new moon, as well as the full moon. Those are ceremonies that if you're there for a while, I would recommend checking out. And you can just make friends with anyone. So if that's the people at the host family and tell them that you want to go to temple with them, they'll be really happy to take you. You know, it's their, look at my foreign friend token. Full moon ceremonies are normally overnight ceremonies. They happen all throughout the night, and it's normally the monks are doing big water blessings where you'll expect to get all wet. And if you want, Elissa, you can. My master's field research assistant is so beautiful, and she's also a Balinese dancer and a dance teacher. So she runs her uncle's cultural preservation foundation called Sudamani, Cudamani, and it's in the village where I actually did my field research in Pengosekan, 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 and it's just south of Ubud. It's just south of the gas station, past south of the yoga burn, and so yeah.
And so you're saying I could go to ceremony with her?
Yes, I will link you up with her. And for anyone else who's watching this, I would totally recommend that you just ask any Balinese person. And they'll be super happy to take you with them. I'm just sending you a quick message, Elissa. Check your Facebook messages. So, secrets of life. No secrets. Oh, girls have secrets. I'm setting parameters for our conversation. That's my message that I sent to her. So, did you get it?
I got it.
All right. So the calendar is crazy, but the holiday every 3 days it's a blessing, really. It's a super blessing. And you get to see so much going on. There are offerings at all times. And so with that, the every 3 days-ish, and that's on average. That's not like, 3 more days, there should be a holiday. There will be women and families making offerings at all times. A nice time of the year is Galungan and Kuningan. And so it might be coming up, and it might happen when you're there. It's normally August-ish and February-ish when it happens. So maybe at the end of July, you'll still be there.
Can you
There will be so Galungan. So Galungan happens every 5 to 6 months, and it is a huge celebration and ceremony. They make these amazing, they're like flags. I'm forgetting the name, but it's a big stick of bamboo that curves at the end.
This is the kite thing?
You saw that?
My dress.
No, the kite, but that you'll go to. That's in July in Sanor. Usually is the kite festival.
Okay.
It's not like a traditional thing. Balinese people love to fly kites. You'll always see kites up in the sky. These days they're getting very funny. They have like penis kites and things like that. Because the Balinese culture, it's very openly sexual, which is different than a normal Hindu culture, which is repressed sexual.
Right.
So it's a very interesting place, very playful. You'll see bottle openers and things that are penises, wooden carved penises, and you'll see them all over the world. A crazy fact about Bali is that when you go to Jamaica and all these Caribbean islands, or even Central America, places like this, and you buy little souvenirs, a lot of them are made in Bali. Believe it or not, but what the Balinese do is they have these home factories, and you can see them in Tagalalang, which is just north of the Arjuna statue. It would be like northeast of Ubud, or almost directly north. There's a street where it's just these home factories. They have a factory in the back and everyone's working all day. So they make these products like the wooden penises and then put them in shipping containers, since obviously it's an easy port place, it's an island, and ship them all around the world so that it's actually cheaper, I guess, to buy them from Bali than to make them. So when you're in Nicaragua, right, or you're going in the back into Tagalang in these factories in Bali, you'll see things written Nicaragua on it, and they're shipping it out. Isn't that crazy?
That's so funny.
I know, right? The authenticity of the world. I've just folded it in on itself.
There you go. That's so crazy.
It's over. I fold. So yeah, but Bali was also, interestingly, in the American context, Bali produced most of Pottery Barn in the 1990s. All those little ducks and the things you see, all the decorative little Balinese things that you'll see driving up and down the street in Tagalalang, that was what filled places like Pottery Barn throughout the 90s. And so the production like that, woodworking and these other art forms, as well as, of course, painting. Art is huge. There is no word for art in Balinese because art is life. So why would you have a word for it? You'll see it everywhere, and it's really infiltrated far beyond, but it was a huge part of the industry before tourism. And the tourist market in Bali has been slowly, gradually on the rise from the 60s, right? The hippies traveling through Asia, 70s, and then 80s is really where it took off. Of course, Australians were driving that curve, and then the rest of the world was like, oh, Bali, 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 you know, hashtag how many times, that kind of thing, if there were hashtags in the 80s. And so then it escalated through the 90s. It became like a super popular honeymoon place, and then 2000, 2001, Bali bombings. Bombings happened in a nightclub in Kuta, and it was it was an Islamist, anti-touristic. I have to actually verify that. There's sometimes where I second guess things I say, and I'm like, where did I learn that? But it was that kind of sentiment against tourism. And so there was a nightclub bombing in Kuta, which is a place that I don't recommend you go ever. Kuta. It's the most commonly touristed place. It's gorgeous beach strip right behind the airport, but infiltrated with tourists who want to do nothing but get drunk, have sex, and for them, that's the censor lifted. That's what they need to do to lift the censor. You come up to Ubud if you want to lift the censor without substances. However, with that said, also, people are more and more and more using substances in Ubud today, and it's not drinks. I mean, there's like one club, and sure, there's drinks served at different restaurants all throughout Ubud, but it's really plant medicines that are being used, I would say, outside of necessarily a ceremonial context. And I'm really sensitive to that. You know, I've spent a lot of time in Peru and in Guatemala and in places of ceremony, either sitting with shaman who have learned this practice from their father. And so now the white female yogi shaman enters and holds ceremony quite often in Ubud. And as an ethnobotanist, I strongly believe that plant medicines should be experienced, if they are, on the soil, literally, where they were indigenously grown. So if you want to take ayahuasca, go to the jungles of Brazil or Peru or even southeastern Ecuador and experience it there, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But magic mushrooms were something that were always circulated in Bali because they were legal, because there wasn't. And mind you, this is Indonesia, which is a country that has death penalty for any kind of drug smuggling, at times possession, things like that. So it's very serious, and marijuana is considered a narcotic. So if you're someone who smokes and does that stuff, do not do any of that in Bali. It's just not worth it. Don't do it anywhere in Indonesia or Malaysia or Singapore. It's just like, first of all, why do you feel a need anyway? But second of all, in a country where it's so deathly illegal. I have had friends of friends who have been shot by gunpoint. That is the death penalty in Indonesia. And so it's not, and the amount of framing, and they can plan things on, it's just not worth it. If you're from Australia or anywhere else, you know this, because there's so many stories of people who have been there or thrown in jail incorrectly, or it's just, you don't want to get into the drug scene. But anyway, in Ubud, there are a lot of quote unquote ceremonies going on. A really popular one of recent is frog medicine, which is the resin of the back of, it's a poison toxic derivative from the back of a frog that essentially creates a huge purging process. And you'll see people walking around with it at all times. They'll have it looks like tattoos of the design of where the shaman put it. There is so much otherworldly magic going on in Bali, and so much high vibration raw food or yoga that you don't need to change your consciousness more than it will already be changed. That's my personal and professional and legal advice. Okay. So yeah, even though before, I can just reach into there. You had mentioned that you wanted to have a Kali experience of purging and allowing things to let go. I'm going to hook you.
Vomiting though.
Totally, right? I'm going to hook you up with my writing teacher who's there. And if anyone wants to hook up with her, write me and I'll be happy to link you in. I won't say her name here because many foreigners in Bali have a really hard time finding work permits. And so a lot of offerings will be kind of underground, or people who are super courageous will do it publicly, but immigration's always a theme. I'm very thankful that I was working legally and I paid the Balinese government upwards of $1,500 to maybe $2,000 every year to be able to do that, to work there legally. But you have to have a company that sponsors you for that, so it's difficult. So if you want to live in Bali legally, it's not easy. I'll say that for anyone interested. So a few things have changed that I've talked about, and I want to just re-mention. One is that magic mushrooms are no longer legal. About a year ago, they were actually made illegal. So that's something to know, even if they're still offered in the South. And the second is that the visa system is always changing. And the regulations and who's allowed to teach there and hold workshops, it's always changing, depending on who's in government or what they want to prove, or this or that or the other. I think I just got the hiccups. Oh no. I'm a little cold. I've been sitting still too long. So Amsterdam, it's cold and wet and rainy, which can be great. I made a video this morning, that was the Facebook Live that I did, about how I actually live a much more active lifestyle here than I ever did in Bali. Right? You think you need to go to the tropics and paradise. Yeah, okay, on a temperature realm, it's definitely healthier to have that kind of permeability and breathability through the skin and humidity in the air. It's wonderfully healthy. But here I cycle everywhere, right? There I was on my motorbike. So maybe you get a cycle. Then you don't have to be scared. I would actually encourage that.
That might be cool.
Let's bring cycling back in Bali. I know 3 people who cycle. That's it. Out of all the people I know there.
I would ride a bicycle. That'd be cool.
So there's a big mountain going up to Peniston where my house is, but you do it. You love as you walk up, and it's 30 seconds. Anyway, so magic mushrooms are now illegal. And the other thing I was going to tell you is that the visa entry, visa on arrival. So it used to be that you could land, you get your 30 days for most countries in the world. And at that time, you would pay about $25 for it. And then you could actually extend it. If you went a week before it expired and you asked for it to be extended, or there are lots of agents, there's a out of Bali, who almost everyone uses. There's lots of agents everywhere around town who can extend it for you, but that's not the case anymore. It's now they changed it a few months ago, where when you go in, you can either get in for free and then you only get 30 days no matter what. There's no option to extend. Or you say here up front is 30, 40, 50, I don't know how much it is, dollars. And I want to extend or have the option to extend for another month. And it's called like visa on arrival or entry visa. What'd you do?
Okay, so here's the interesting thing. So I'm staying here for 31 days, which is kind of silly because I wasn't counting carefully and I didn't do my research before I booked my ticket. So I figured, I walked over to the short line over on the left side when you get off the plane in the customs area, and I was like, hello, I need to buy an extension visa because I'm going to be here for 30
So honest and gorgeous.
Yeah. But here's what they said. They were like, no, don't do that. And I was like, but I've been told that I am supposed to and I have to. And so here's my $35, which is what it cost as of yesterday. And they were like, no, don't do that. You can either, because like apparently if I had done it that day, that $35 would have disappeared and then I would have had to pay again later. Anyway, so they said, just do the free 30 days. And then they said a week before I leave, go to a tourist place in the city. And I think I've seen lots of them as I've been walking around, and like ask to have your visa extended. Or you, when you get to the airport, you can just pay a penalty. And I was like, how much is the penalty? And he was like, the penalty is $25 US dollars. And I was like, oh, so like basically I should do nothing and just show up to the airport the day that I'm leaving and pay you $25. And he was like, yes. And I was like, great.
So when so a few things there. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that conversation too. And mind you, if we're talking 3 months from now, it could already be different, but that sounds like it's changed back to how it was.
Okay.
So maybe it was just a few months that they experimented with the new system. It's always changing. So good resource, super dangerous, like fire cannonball throwing community is Ubud community on Facebook, as well as there's Bali community.
Cannonball throwing community in terms of like, if you say anything, they'll jump down your throat.
Yeah. It's a place where people just spew so much. I try to stay away as far as possible from Ubud community Facebook group. What if this ever gets posted there? But so anyway, yeah, it's a really great place for resources. And I mean, of course, people are good at heart. People are amazing everywhere. There are just a lot of opinions in a place where it's questionable to live anyway as a foreigner. So it's a bit of a mess, Ubud community. And I think anyone would admit that. But it's a great place to ask questions and get fast answers for resources.
Well, because I was going to maybe ask there about a place to stay if your place wasn't available, or just like scroll through and see if anyone was offering a place to stay. Is that a place to look for?
Yeah. So no, good question. Really good question. There's housing groups, 100%. Just put in Ubud in the Facebook thing and for groups and look Ubud housing, Ubud houses for rent house, share rent house Ubud. Like all of these different groups exist and more keep coming. And Ubud community at one point turned into Ubud Connect, but not everyone went over there. And nice version of just like crazy. Woo. I'm really glad I know. So yeah, but really great resources are there online. And Bali to help it. yeah, lots of places to find rentals. There are also community announcement boards all over town. So Bali Buddha is the classic one, although Radiantly Live has kind of taken it over. That's the other.
Yeah, I actually walked past that board today. That makes sense. Yeah, there's there's a third of it for the community, a third of it for Radiant Live, and a third of it for Bali Buddha. It's very organized now, it looks like.
Good. So there are new announcement boards. Dayu has ones up at Dayu's. And so we get into our restaurant discussion. Dayu, amazing Dayu. She's just down the street from you right there at Banana Homestay.
Okay. Literally. I'm probably hungry for dinner. That's probably where I'm going to go, like, straight after our conversation.
Yes, and you give her a freaking huge hug from me and she'll get giddy like a little girl.
Just say that I'm here and I'm saying hi to Andy.
You say probably Andrea. Dayu, and you can say Andy. Dayu and her husband.
Is that the one? Dayu. Okay. Continue.
So if you leave Banana, you make a left. It'll be no more than 5 minutes walking up the street on your left side. So Dayu has become a bit of an institution.
It is.
Yeah, you'll find it. You'll totally find it.
Yeah.
So she and her husband Bagus 5 years ago, when I was doing my master's field research, I used to come after a full field day work and have dinner there, and they would help me with my Indonesian. They would help me with the plant identification and the translation into English. They were just like amazing, and they became kind of Balinese family for me. And then since then, Dayu's restaurant has just escalated and gotten so popular. And then she opened a second location Bagus now runs and manages, which is called Fussy Bird, which is adorable.
Fussy Bird.
The whole thing is gluten-free, and it's about like being picky and fussy, no sugar.
Where is it?
So Fussy Bird is north. So if you were to keep walking north, and then cross Jalan Raya, which is the main street of Ubud, get to one of the rice field roads north called Tirta Tawara. I used to live up there too. It's lovely. If you're going for drives, all of the rice field roads north of Main Street are gorgeous places to just go drive.
I see. I walked almost all the way up there. I went to Bali Buddha this morning. That's as far north as I went.
Yes, you were almost there. You'd have to cross and then walk, if you were walking, another at least 5 minutes up before you get to Westford. But that'll also be on Google Maps.
I already have my, can you see it? Let me turn down my brightness. I already have my stars and everything.
Yeah, I love it. So I have a map that I can send you of all the restaurant recommendations.
Okay.
That I would recommend. I want to just make note that we didn't finish talking about Ghillie's.
Oh yeah. You want to go back to
now before I get into restaurants?
Sure. Ghillie's. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see the Ghillie Islands again.
Right, okay. Baby.
We were saying Ghillie tea is the biggest one, and people drink there.
It's not only that they drink, because I'm sure a lot of people watching this might want to drink. It's that it's a loud, non-stop party where there's in that kind of environment, there tends to be a less respect for other people in space and things like that. So that's Ghillie tea. A lot of scuba diving and other kinds of trips will go out of there. So sometimes people stay at a different end and then go there in the morning. There are boats that go back and forth through the islands throughout the day. Next one, Ghillie, is it Meno or Air? I don't remember which one's in the middle. Maybe if you zoom in, it'll show you. I think Air is in the middle. No, there, Meno is in the middle. Okay. So Ghillie Meno, Ghillie tea is the one all the way farthest out, closest to Bali. Ghillie Meno is in the middle. It's actually said to be the honeymoon island. I went there with my ex-partner, and it was really quiet and peaceful. Not much was going on, although that was quite a few years ago now. But it does have a turtle sanctuary, so it's much more chill. But on the western side of the island, you get all of the loudness and pollution really from Ghillie tea.
How big are these islands? They look so teeny.
Super small. So we walked around Ghillie Meno in I think an hour.
Okay.
Around the outside perimeter.
Right.
And then Ghillie Air, which is, if you are going to the Ghillies, it's what I would recommend. It's the one in the middle. So it's not quite honeymooner. You're in the middle of nowhere, where Ghillie Air, like there are still young people or single people, or I'll stop there. But Gili Meno with the honeymooner vibe, what I mean by that is that it's a lot of boutique resorts and expensive places. So Gili Air is a good compromise, and you see how it's even set a little farther away from the rest. But if you zoom out, where I actually recommend you go is Kuta Lombok. So south in Lombok, you'll see all the way south is
Going.
Yeah, Lombok is huge.
There?
Yeah. Scroll in, let me see.
Quetta?
I don't know. I think it was more western than that, but maybe. You know what? No, yes, that does make sense. So they call it Quetta there, but Kuta is the name. Just like Kuta in Bali, it's Kuta Lombok. I have been to glorious beaches all over the world. I've been super gifted. That was hands down one of the most idyllic. And nothing is there. And again, this was a while ago, 2 or 3, at least probably years. Stunning.
Okay, so here's my question actually, because so I was thinking I was going to go to Lombok, and I no one had ever told me about going to Nusa Tenggara. Not even this one, but
yeah,
right, Tim. So, do I have time to go to like Lombok and Nusa Tenggara?
We don't have time. We make time.
Yeah, but like, what am I making time for, girl? According to your recommendation.
So, I mean, it depends on what you want to experience, because I would, hands down, if I want to be at the beach, I would go to Kuta Lombok over Canggu or Sanur or anywhere like that. Like the beaches in Bali, anywhere around the perimeter of Bali aren't amazing. It's only really the beaches down on the Bukit, which is the peninsula at the south of Bali, south of the airport, which are stunning and amazing. The rest are just like calm.
We're going to talk about soon. In the direction of Uluwatu, which we're going to talk about soon.
Sure. It's definitely not my area of expertise, but I'll tell you all I know. I'll give you everything I have. So that's where you have stunning beaches and cliff sides and gorgeous waves and the most amazing surfing. It's there. And so if you're not there, and mind you, it's a 2-hour drive from Ubud to there. Anyone who doesn't know Bali, like, it's much bigger than you would think. I mean, it's an island of 5 million people. It's much bigger than people think. Even when I first started researching for my master's thesis, I thought I was going to this island that I could walk around in an hour, like Gili Meno or Gili T or something like that. But no, it's big. It's huge. It takes 4, 5, 6 hours to drive from one corner or one side to the other. So,
totally.
And almost traveling overland, it's super cool because you can drive all the way west in Bali, and you can even take a ferry over to Java. It's really, really cool. You see how close they are.
Yeah, they're so close.
And so another thing that I would recommend you checking out, anyone who has time, and that's the thing, you can take 2-day trips, especially if you're staying at my house, and it's just like you have a base, you go and you come back.
Right.
Nusa Penida. It's that big chunk between Lombok and Bali. It's like a hidden magical paradise. I wouldn't say paradise. It's a hidden magical land of mystery. It's undeveloped. It's kind of like one big rock, and you can drive on some parts, but a lot of it is inhospitable. But now you're really going back to really pre-development. And that's the thing, as all of these tropical islands all over the world get developed, in comes Coca-Cola, in comes commercial everything, in comes way more and more plastic, in comes people relating to you as if you have a money sign on your forehead rather than relating to you as a human, et cetera, et cetera. And so
how do we get to these islands, by the way?
Ferries. So from Nusa Penida, you can go from the south, from Sanur, which Sanur is only a 40-minute bike trip from Ubud. And mind you, when I say bike trip, that doesn't mean you have to actually know how to ride a motorbike, which is this discussion we've been having, because I totally support you driving a pedal bike. Uber and Gojek. So this is what I think I texted you yesterday. Yeah. Gojek is the Indonesian version of Uber. It's amazing. One of my favorite things about living there. You can order anything you want, and they'll go and pick it up and pay for it and bring it to your house. That's Gojek. You can order a hairstylist to come to your house. Gojek. Massage therapist, whatever it is, they'll come. And so Gojek's pretty awesome. I think the app runs in English as well as Indonesian, but you can always use Google Translate if you're if it is in
I
Indonesian.
haven't opened it yet, actually. I have it downloaded. I've had it downloaded for a little bit, but I haven't opened it yet.
If you want, we can go through and I'll help you as much as I can. They might have changed it since I left. I left, for anyone who's watching, about 6 months ago. That didn't make it to my
name. Elissa. Ooh, do I have to have a Balinese phone number?
You didn't get a SIM card?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so that's high up on the to-do list.
Really?
So opposite diapers.
Okay.
This isn't my favorite. It's not my favorite cell phone guy because it's close to you right now. Opposite Dius, there's a cell phone guy where you can buy a SIM card. I would recommend you get Telkomsel. It's the biggest mobile company in Indonesia. And then you just get a data SIM card. And there will be some what's called Pulsa, P-U-L-S-A, which is phone talk credit or texting credit on there. But you really just need it for data. I would recommend, especially for the month.
What? Sorry.
Sorry, go on.
Wait, Telkomsel, I got you there. I just need this for, okay, but here's the question. Am I not going to be able to use my normal cell phone number if I switch to a SIM card from here?
Do you use WhatsApp?
Mm-hmm.
So use it still on WhatsApp and tell everyone to do that, or iMessage since it's an iPhone, or Facebook message. No one's going to be calling your number, are they?
No. It's just if I take out my SIM card, doesn't that change my cell phone number on WhatsApp or no?
On WhatsApp, it'll come up and say, you've implanted a SIM card with this number. Do you want to change it? You just say no.
Got it. Oh, perfect. Okay, now I'm happy to get a SIM card. I didn't want to get a SIM card because I didn't want to do that.
Oh no, super easy, super cheap. Traveling most places in the world, I go and I get a local SIM card. So in Indonesia, now that I'm here in Europe and the prepaid is super expensive, I really was super gifted to have cheap prepaid because it's almost only prepaid in Indonesia. There's very few other cell options. They're coming more and more, but you buy a like 10 gigabyte SIM card for like $10-15.
Okay.
And so that's going to last you the month unless
Okay.
you're doing downloading or uploading or anything. So
Okay.
definitely do that. My favorite cell phone place, I will say, I like the guys at Delhi Cell, and there are 2 locations of Delhi Cell. There's one just south of Yoga Barn near a gas station, and then there's one just past Bintang. But my favorite cell phone place in town, and this is for recharging anything, is up past Bintang, and we can get a map of Ubud in a second. It's past Bintang. It's one of the 3 big supermarkets in town. On the left side, there's a super beautiful young family there, and it's next to a coffee shop that I also like, not coffee, Xerox shop, and also next to a flower shop that's also a beautiful young family that just got a super cute puppy dog. So I always used to buy flowers because you can get flowers for like $1, gorgeous flowers, bouquet of flowers for nothing, and bring it back and decorate my home.
Okay, I'm going to do this. Yeah, I need to go to the grocery store for sure. I want to start cooking. Okay,
so can I take a side? I wouldn't actually try as much as possible not to go to the grocery store for food in Bali. We have Wednesday and Saturday morning and Tuesday morning organic markets. So
what morning?
So Wednesday market is at, I think they call it the Ubud Food Court. Up your road as well in the center of town near Jalan Raya. Opposite Jazz Cafe. It used to be Jazz Cafe. Now it's Sayuri's Raw Food Restaurant, which I would recommend.
I just went to Sayuri's today.
Oh, you did?
Oh, I know where you mean, that big open space. Okay, that makes sense.
Wednesday mornings from 9 a.m. So that's there. The best one, the one known best in town is Pizza Bagus. Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. organic market.
Okay, and where is it? Pizza
Bagus, south of the Yoga Barn. Down that road, Jalan Hanuman, a little farther south.
Okay.
And then Tuesday mornings, probably my favorite farmer's market. And mind you, at Saturday morning, you'll meet Gede Darish, who's awesome. He's a Balinese guy who went and studied permaculture and brought it back. And so Gede is, just ask anyone for Gede when you're there.
How do you spell his name?
Gede. It means big one or older brother. It's the first second born. It's a nickname.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty awesome, and it's all of that is permaculturally grown, so composted soil, high nutrition, organic. Yeah, so this is good food, and it's not expensive, and so that was a blessing as well. And I'll give you some ordering companies after I tell you the third farmers market. So the other one is in Tuesday mornings, next to Alchemy, and there's a place called Alami, which means health or healthy in Indonesian. It's a Japanese-owned place, and they have a petite, small little farmers market from specifically one farmer who brings his stuff in, and then someone like bakes bread, and other people make soap. It's very small, but that's Tuesdays at 9, and you often have to order with him in advance, or sometimes the Ubudhians are like vultures. They just take it all, and it's a bit of a competition. But so those are, and that one's 4 minutes walking from my house. So Tuesday morning, I don't know what day we are, but definitely go.
Next week.
So those are the farmers markets. And then what you can do, which I would recommend even more for the don't go to supermarket when you're in Ubud, is you can buy organic from Alchemy, from their farm, from the refrigerators in Alchemy. It's actually really inexpensive. You can buy as well vegetables. Where else did I buy from?
This is Alchemy right here, right?
Yeah, so it's in Penistonaan, which is the west side of Ubud. It's a village to the west, and it takes a good 20-minute walk from the center of town to get there. But Penistonaan was the first foreigner inhabited place in Ubud.
Awesome.
And that's a statement I think that probably could use some verification, but it just, the houses went up right and left, and they were houses that were built for foreigners to live in.
Mm-hmm. Your house is over in what direction? Bless you.
So, Alchemy is a bunch of my friends founded it about 6 or 7 years ago now. And one of the founders, an amazing girl, is actually living here in Amsterdam now, and she just started a restaurant project here, and she's doing amazing things. I would highly recommend looking her up. I'm just do an Elena plug. You can find her on Instagram at Yoni_empire. Have I shown you that yet? Have I sent it to you? Oh, you must have, because you're Speak from the Vagina campaign.
Yeah, but I didn't remember it. Not until
okay. Yoni Empire, you've got to go, and she's only gotten more ludicrous and amazing and audacious. And
wait, there's a Yoni Empire place here.
So no, I know Elena from Bali, but she's now living here in Amsterdam. She started up along with a bunch of other people. I would say she was part of the craft and the design behind what Alchemy is.
Cool.
So, and now it's owned and run still by another dear friend, Shanti, who's the head chef there. And Shanti opened, she's originally Swedish. She opened Alchemy Academy, which is a raw food cooking school. It is the one that I would recommend if anyone wants to do any kind of food preparation or raw food. And Dayu, our famous Dayu, is involved in that as well. So it's just beautiful people.
Cool.
Okay. Organic ordering services. Big Tree Farms, someone who has had a tremendously amazing impact upon the scope of farming in all of Bali today and the pan-Indonesian island chain, Mr. Ben Ripple. He is, along with his beautiful wife Blair, they are the masterminds behind Big Tree Farms, which sources a lot of cacao and especially coconut palm sugar to Whole Foods right there in the USA. And so when you go into the bulk bin at Whole Foods, you're taking that coconut palm sugar from Indonesia, from Big Tree Farms.
Okay.
And you'll see it in Whole Foods and other health food stores. I love whenever I see Big Tree Farm stuff. So Big Tree Farms has, Ben and Blair have been there for almost 30 years, I want to say, or at least 25, trying to transform the Indonesian farming system, because the Indonesian farming system, and this is my comment on watermelons being super toxic, in the late 60s and early 70s, there was something called the Green Revolution throughout all kinds of less developed countries. Sounds really good, not so good. It was the petrochemicals So all of the synthetic pesticides that are sprayed on fruits and vegetables, the petrochemical companies spread, right, all over less developed parts of the world, like Indonesia, and the Green Revolution greatly affected, essentially decimating organic agriculture. And so what this has resulted in Bali is the water table being super toxic, because all of the petrochemicals went into the rice fields where there's lots of dense water collection. And people think they're landing in Bali and they're landing in paradise, when indeed it's actually what we would call an organic society in transition. Nothing is truly organic because it has to be 10-year period with no kinds of pesticides. And so the turnover has been slower. So, but Ben's stuff, because he's been there for so long, he has been investing in organic. So it's perhaps some of the best food that you could have. And so his farming initiative for Big Tree Farms is called Island Organics, and you can just Google all this stuff and you can order from them, and they'll deliver to your house. They deliver twice a week, I think Friday and another day. The Indonesian guy running the delivery is really awesome. And yeah, like that quality of life is amazing living there. And it's, even if you're staying there for 2 or 3 weeks, still like get heaps of fresh organic vegetables and fruit delivered to your door depending on the season. And
cool.
Yeah, so Island Organics, there's another one called Ubud Direct, and if I'm not forgetting, there's 1 or 2 more, but like these options are obviously so much better than anything you'd find at the grocery store. And so while you're living in Bali, even for a few weeks, allow it to be a blessing to be able to have access to things like that.
And I'm just like Googling these, and then here we go. It's like literally there's just a website where I can place an order.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool, I see. Cool. Do people want to see this? Here, I'll share my screen. Here's Island Organics.
Woo!
Yay!
I love Ben Ripple, really, like, such good people. I interviewed him for my master's thesis, and he was this integral, like, last little commentary on agriculture and the history of agriculture in Indonesia. It was I was writing my master's thesis, like actually doing the writing part in the Philippines, and it was one of the last things that I added to it, like a day or two before it was finished, and it was golden cherry on top. He really saved me in that. Yeah. So definitely Island Organics, Big Tree Farms, all that good stuff. And you can also go visit their factory. That's something I would recommend, the Big Tree Farms factory, which is in Abian, not so far away. It's about 20 minutes drive southwest of Ubud. There's a gathering of 3 things that I would recommend you visit there. One is the Big Tree Farms chocolate factory. It's one of the largest bamboo buildings in the world.
Say again the name of this place.
Big Tree Farms chocolate factory. I don't know if it's...
Say the name of the place where it is.
Oh, so the district is called Abian Samal. ABIANSEMAL. But that kind of thing you don't really need to write down, because as soon as you Google Big Tree Farms chocolate factory on Google Maps, it will show Abian Samal. So, and not many foreigners know that. Like, I only know that because I lived there for so long and worked there. And my dear best friend's sister, who you're going to meet because I'm making you, is she is the wellness liaison at 5 Elements. So this is the second place in Abian Samal that I would recommend.
I just got invited to a fire ceremony there.
Oh, Agnihotra. Wow, that's super amazing. Who invited you?
Bronte, who was here before.
Okay, I mean, that's a blessing to get that invitation.
Amazing.
Yeah, so go and tell me when you're going, and I'll have Isa be there. Isa is my sister, best friend. She does beautiful work as the wellness liaison. I mean, you can imagine the people that would go to an eco 5-star resort, people who are super wealthy, well off, have had great success in their life, but then want to turn into more consciousness in living and eating and in being. And so she takes those people with such gentle care and delicacy and meets them where they are. And the quality of presence that she holds is so deep that after a week or a few days, people go away absolutely transformed. And
so cool.
She also does Watsu. Do you know Watsu? It's like water massage, but there's so many levels of it. It's essentially like you're cradled in her arms in a warm pool, and carried around. And so you just completely relax for an hour, and you're cared for like a baby in a mother's arms. And she only gets rave reviews. I mean, she's probably one of the most talented practitioners in the world. And it's a really intimate, delicate, loving, unconditional space that we would almost never have in any other part of our modern human experience. And so that's her practice. Yeah. So I'm sure she'll give you a session.
Okay.
But yeah, so 5 Elements in and of itself is also amazing to just visit and see. They have a raw food restaurant, which is astounding. It was started by Chef Made, who has now since broken off and started his own restaurant. So if we're going to make a restaurant list in a side column, this is probably my favorite restaurant in Ubud. Otherwise, it's where I had my goodbye party for good reason. It's called Moksha, Moksa. I'm figuring out if I should eat the rest of my watermelon now or not. Where Chef Made went, and it's not a fully raw restaurant. It's in Peniston, so near the house. They're making it into a permaculture garden restaurant, plant-based, fully vegan restaurant. Yeah, cool. Only cooking coconut oil. So anyway, but 5 Elements, that's where Chef Made started. Well, I'm sure not started, but he really created the kitchen there. And so if you're going to visit 5 Elements in Abiyansamal, go see Isa, have a Watsu session. If you're not going for a longer period of time, if you can get invited to the Agnihotra ceremony, that's the place to go. And then the property itself is stunning. The pool overlooks a river. It's gorgeous. And you just can enjoy the grounds really for a little bit. And the main shala, the yoga shala, is this gorgeous bamboo spiral. We used to have the Ubud there. It's astounding. So anyway, that's 5 Elements. And then the third place to visit in Abiyansamal is the Green School, of course. So the Green School, which was started by John Hardy, ex-Canadian diamond jeweler, although I think he's still in the industry, he has a business. John Hardy Jewelry, you'll see it in the airport in Bali. He opened an initiative for children of the future, essentially. It's called the Green School, and the whole theory is based around making the classroom more outside, making students farmers, giving them or empowering them to have the responsibility to have a more active role in their education. And so a lot of the cool people around Ubud might have had something to do with Ubud, with the Green School at some point, or they might have been teachers or things like that. So Green School is definitely worth checking out. It's almost all bamboo in its structure and architecture. John's daughter, Alora, who's pretty amazing. She gave an awesome TED talk 2 or 3 years ago at 5 Elements about her bamboo work and bamboo architecture. She's known worldwide now for the work she's doing, but the Green School design itself is astounding. And it's huge. That's the thing. People think it's small. So check that out. Those are the 3 places in Abiyansamal.
Okay. Amazing. Okay, question.
Yeah.
If I'm starting to get saturated and overwhelmed with all the possibilities, what's like, let's...
Should we continue this later?
Well, yeah, I'm like, what's the most important stuff to know now? Because this is like, it's so cool. You're giving me like a download of all this stuff that you learned over the course of like years, really.
I know, that's why we're recording it.
Yeah. So I'm like,
what's most
overwhelmed. I'm so lucky that I have a month here, which is like, feels long and short all at the same time. I'm sure some people listening to this will have shorter or longer. Did I lose you for a second?
Yeah, but you're back.
So I'm sure some people listening to this will have shorter or longer, but anyway, if I'm like, okay, I just need to process it.
Yeah, it's interesting because the 3 things I just said, if you're intelligent, for example, the Abiyansamal, that could be a half day. And so if you're only there for a week, you could still do that for a half day. It's just that I think I'm kind of being the tour guide too, where I'm giving you all the information and the history and the back end.
Yeah, totally.
visit and have your own experience. But it's brilliant that you asked to prioritize. So when you come to Ubud, the restaurants are a number one thing to enjoy. Of course, there's yoga classes right and left. There's nowhere particular that I would recommend going, because some people like smaller classes, some people like bigger classes, and it's just that yoga will be offered to you. Go with what resonates.
The two main places in Ubud are Yoga Barn and Radiantly Alive.
Yeah, it used to be that way. It's actually not anymore. There's a great studio called Intuitive Flow that caters to an older crowd or more of a slower flowing crowd. It's up in Penistone near the house. But they have quite a bunch of classes. They have a lot more Balinese teachers, which is awesome. There's a place called the Shala. There's a bunch of Ashtanga places in town. So it's completely radiant. There's no more normal at all anymore. So yeah, and they're just opening more and more and more. So that's that. I would recommend that you go to a teacher who you feel a presence when you're with them.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a quality of authenticity there, because the nature of Ubud is such that yoga and health and all of these things they're thrown around all the time, and so they lose permeability into a level of authenticity and vulnerability, where someone can actually really show up as human rather than show up as stage performer or show up as anything else. And so connecting back into that person who has the permeability into authenticity, and shows this is my practice, or this is what's real for me, or this is and is fully there, it's a bit of a priceless thing in Ubud. So really trust your intuition and what you feel with a person, because Ubud is a place, even though it's spiritual, it's very pseudo spiritual as well. And so a lot of people, it's a lot for the show, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it's still here and it hasn't yet been embodied. And so everyone has their path and all things in time. If you're looking for a teacher, look for someone who's really, really there. And a place that doesn't normally get cred and is super questionable, and I've never been, so I don't know why I'm even mentioning it now, but you mentioned that you wanted to kind of purge in a way. Ratu Bagus Shaking Ashram in the north. Just on a nature level, my best friend went there and was greatly affected by it. But there's a lot of energy flying around, so it is a place where you can pick up entities people talk about all the time in Bali, like just it's energies of other people. As a yogi, I don't really believe that there's other people. It's a whole reflection of what's going on inside of us, and so yeah. But that's something that I would recommend for you. Maybe.
Can you spell Ratu Baju?
I don't know if I just recommended it. I won't do that, but you can check it out, do your own research, talk to people.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because I am certified in a voice technique that involves shaking. So that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so it's interesting on an intellectual level, which is cool. It's good because it means you'll go up with engagement. So Ratu, R-A-T-U, Bagus, B-A-G-U-S. And Bagus means good, or it means handsome. It's also a name, I think, for the firstborn in a certain caste of people.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm looking it up. Interesting.
But my beloved best friend, Michael, he's always said that the spring behind Ratu's house is the best water in Bali. Cool. Spring water. So at my house, you'll see Tirtha Diksha, which is my review for best water, and they do it on delivery, and it's like $2 for a full, and that was with delivery, carrying it up a bunch of stairs, for a full 20-liter tank. So Tirtha Diksha, you can probably also look them up online, but maybe we'll take care of that for you.
Okay. Whoa, I have to go to this shaking thing. This is so interesting. It's so in conversation with Fitzmaurice voice work. It's bioenergetics.
I've never been there, and mixed reviews, so I'll just say that. But
it's very useful research for me.
Off the beaten path, and for you specifically, yeah, totally. So let me think of other things to prioritize. So the restaurants, I'll just send you the list. I'll put out a caution or an encouragement. Only go to places where they cook with coconut oil. Anyone who's hopefully marginally into health is aware of the oils that they're taking in their body, any kind of hydrogenated oils. Canola oils, processed vegetable oils, peanut oil, whatever it is, are incredibly inflammatory on the human system. And unfortunately, in Indonesia, like most less developed countries, that's what they're mostly cooking with. And so Indonesia traditionally always used a home production coconut oil, but as of the past 10, 20 years, that's no longer true. And so a lot of places will be cooking with oil brands called Bamoli or Tropical. And these are essentially toxic oils that you don't want anywhere in your system, and most restaurants are going to have them. So the restaurant list that I send to people are places that only cook with coconut oil, and that's all I would ever recommend consuming it. But there's so many of them, which is exciting, because in any other city, even New York City, they would have olive oil mixed with canola oil as their cooking oil. And I was like, why would you ever do that? And that was a vegetarian, high-class restaurant, you know? Anyway.
So crazy. Yeah, I remember you mentioning that when you were in New York. You were like, ah!
I have forgotten the most important, and I would put this definitely on the list, especially if you're interested in healthy food and agriculture. On Thursdays, Har from Har's Garden, which is up one of the rice field roads. It's the one parallel to the west of the Fussy Bird Road. Har's Garden, you can just Google that, Google Maps. He has a permaculture workshop. Amazing. And for free, Thursday afternoons, I think, double check that. But he's awesome, super awesome. Indonesian guy, I think he's originally Japanese, has a Japanese wife and lives in Ubud now and is trying to permaculture the island. Like it's amazing. And the quality of his produce is far above and beyond anything else that I've seen in the Ubud area. And it's dirt cheap, if you will. That was a really bad joke.
That was a great I was just Googling, which is why I didn't laugh sooner. Sorry.
No, but seriously, like we used to get bundles and bundles and bundles of amazing organic local heirloom, which is a kind of variety that's not grown or sold commercially, variety of greens, and just like love it up.
Amazing. Okay,
yeah.
So
prioritizing other things in Ubud, open meeting other travelers often. This is one of the things that someone living there for a long period of time, where you're constantly in the tourist whirlpool, you just want out of it. But to be swept up in that tourist whirlpool and allow yourself to be moved by the universe, that can be a really beautiful experience while you're there. And so the people you meet each will have a specific lesson that they're teaching you on the right day, and you met that person, and all of this uncanny manifestation and synchronicity, which is the word that we use, happens. And it's just 1, 2, 3, and it has a lot to do with the looseness of the society there, and the people's days aren't structured. But yeah, be open to just meeting people. Like Dayus has a lot of communal tables. You can just say hi, ask people where they're from, like any other traveler's tips. You say, where have you been, what would you recommend, that kind of thing. You can always double check with me for a double insider view. But yeah, so synchronicity is something I would put on that immediate list. I would also put getting out of the center as much as you can, because the Ubud Center, not buying anything in the center, again, Tagalalang, the road up north where all the Pottery Barn stuff is made, that's where you could get souvenirs cheaper or in bulk or wholesale or whatever. The people on the streets are really just trying to bargain. You can go to, my earrings are Ananda Soul Creations. Beautiful, amazing friend.
How do I know that already? Did you tell me about that?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
With her own 2 hands, she started designing it, and now she has a bunch of silversmiths and goldsmiths. It's gold plated or sterling silver, and it's all hand designed by her, and it's made by a lot of single moms and helping out Balinese street children and things like this. And
I feel like I bought it somewhere at a boutique in the United States.
Maybe the whole jewelry line is designed around remembering their eternal essence, if you could say. For me, I didn't wear jewelry for many, many years. As an anthropologist, I thought it was like decorative, like it tells you your caste or this or that, and I would just want to be able to show up with nothing. But with my previous job and all of this, I started wearing jewelry. It was recommended to me, and Christina's earrings, I feel like a princess every time I'm wearing them. And it's just this I would highly recommend in Soul Creations. And she has 2 shops on Hanuman at the top, the northern part of Hanuman, near Jalan Raya, and then one outside of Monkey Forest. Which brings us to the discussion of Monkey Forest, which I have not visited, but Paris Hilton has.
Sorry.
And Obama was just in Ubud last weekend. I said I've never visited I've never visited Monkey Forest, but Paris Hilton has. Yeah.
You're talking about Monkey Forest, the street. You're talking about the actual Monkey Forest.
So both, yeah, exactly. Monkey Forest, the street stems up from Forest. If we had to box in, we'll just do a quick map of Ubud. I'll show you. I normally draw it as a rectangle. I'm not sure if this will be inverted, but the north edge is Jalan Raya. The eastern edge of inner Ubud would be Hanuman, Jalan Hanuman. Hanuman, of course, is the monkey god from Hinduism. The south street going around is the start of Monkey Forest, and then Monkey Forest curves all the way up to be the western inner rectangle border, all the way back up to Jalan Raya. And so that area is like central Ubud. Mm-hmm. And Ubud is the name for the whole extended area around there, but the Balinese system. So very good. So there's Hanuman on the east, Jalan Raya, which is Main Street, Raya, Royal Street, and then Jalan Monkey Forest all the way down to the Monkey Forest down there. But Ubud, Bali in general is broken up into what are called banjars, and these are the community units. And so Ubud itself is like even more central than that. It's this teeny community, and there's Ubud East and West kind of thing. And then like Penastanan is the name of a banjar, and there's Penastanan East and West as well. And so Ubud has, the name itself has snuck out all the way. So a good secret street to definitely go to is Jalan Bisma, which you see west of Monkey Forest, parallel. And you can actually walk behind through a hotel to get there, or you can go there from the top. But there's only one entry, one exit. And I love that place. There's a really cheap massage place almost at the end. I forget what it's called.
Maybe I was going to ask you about where to get massages.
I'd recommend, for anyone watching this, find an expat who's lived there for a while and ask them who they have come to their house. And then just have someone come to your house. If you're going somewhere, it's really, first of all, a dime a dozen. But second of all, it's up for it's.
So when you say the Jalan Bisma, do you mean this end or the top end?
You can go either way, and you can walk the whole thing or cycle it. It's beautiful rice fields. There's
you said there was a massage place. Which end is it at?
Sorry, that end.
This end?
Yeah, it's before Komaneka, so it's before the umbrella.
Before the umbrella.
So go north, bring your cursor north, and I'll tell you right there, right about there. No.
Okay. Got it.
Somewhere there. I think it's Ayu Putri is the name of the spa. I'm not sure. But there's lots of spas on that street. But it's a very inexpensive place that I've been going for years. It used to be a secret place of my friend who showed me moved, and now I'm announcing it to the world. With a lot of traffic. It's not any more fantastic than anywhere else. It's just that it's at the same level of, and it's at a much cheaper price point. But it's good to invest in local society. Anywhere in town, Noor Massage is one of the most famous ones. There is Iman Spa, a little bit north of town. That's people like. Any of the spas, they're kind of like, it depends on who your therapist is going to be. And make sure you have someone who, my advice for getting a Balinese massage in general is, when I first got there, it was like 50,000 for an hour, and now it's 90,000 or 110,000. It's almost doubled in price.
Still, by the way, translating that to US dollars, that's $7.
Yeah, I know. The thing is that you want to get a quality massage. So maybe even then you spend $10 or $12 or $15 and go to a nicer place. Like Sung Spa on there is said to be a nice one.
Which one?
Sang, it was there on the map.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Yeah, I haven't tried a lot of them out because I always have massage therapists come to my house. But
okay.
If you're in the Canggu area, Jari Minari is the best. It was a Western woman who started it, and she trained a bunch of Balinese therapists to be really excellent. But you just don't find that quality of excellence in a lot of these spas because it was just they were taught by their aunt or this or that. And unless someone is intuitive, what you're looking for in a massage therapist is someone who's intuitive, who knows that it's not just about push, but that there's a conversation that's happening between them and their body and that they're present. I've had many times a massage therapist in Bali answer their phone during the massage and talk on it as they're massaging. It's like, it doesn't feel good when you're in that kind of a relationship, and that's what's very common in Balinese spas. So, yeah, be aware of who's touching your body, and I'll give you my massage therapist.
Okay.
Yeah. He's very, very, very special to me.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's that. What else? Pressing matters. Tell me your list of questions.
My questions basically had to do with food and massages and like day trips. I feel like you've answered all of my questions, and you're going to send me a list of food places, and I'm going to use tonight for dinner. I feel like I need to digest this, have a couple more days in town, and then we should reconvene, and I'll ask you more intelligent questions than I would have at this moment. Does that sound good?
Episode 2, it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think let's do an episode 2.
I love it. I love this. This is so cool.
This is smart.
So, there was one last thing I wanted to tell you. Oh, because you had asked me about trips and what to prioritize.
Well, I sort of feel, so I guess let me say like why I came here and like what I hope to accomplish. Let me tell you this. This is like what I hope to accomplish this month, which obviously I fully am willing for the universe to shift my priorities, what I think my priorities are. But so I teach voice and movement, like I said, voice, yoga, movement, somatic work. I teach. My background in my voice training is very much from a theater perspective, very much from a singing perspective, very much from a speech science perspective. My training in the movement world is very much from a yoga perspective, with some other somatic techniques rolled in there. And I also will share that I'm a meditator and that I practice Vedic meditation, which is a mantra-based technique. It's the 20 minutes twice a day business. And I study Vedic philosophy as well. And so I feel like in this, and also, you also haven't introduced yourself yet and like explained your background, but if this is going on your website, then people may already know. But I also have the health aspect to what I do too, because I have an autoimmune condition and have gone into Ayurveda and, health and wellness in that perspective in order to deal with my psoriasis and just be a healthy person. And I also dealt with acid reflux at a certain point with my voice too. So anyway, those are like, that's the spectrum of stuff. But I feel like the thing that's missing from my research, my perspective, my teaching, the hole that I'm seeing right now, that is the one that I want to explore down, is the like sacred sound stuff. So like studying vibration, studying like chanting, just the nature of sound, just playing with sound. So if you have any other, and also I love drumming. That's like another thing. Like I would love to like drum while I'm here. So like dancing, drumming, chanting, practicing yoga, like these are the things I want to do while I'm here. So if you have any recommendations around sound, I'd be interested in hearing them.
Okay, so very interesting on many levels. First of all, drumming, not that I know of, there's not much going on. Except gamelan. I mean, the Balinese host It's a percussive orchestra. That's what gamelan is, and you'll hear it if you go outside right now. It's said to open the taksu, or the trance state, flow state, that the Balinese trying to go into, and they learn it from a very young age. I'll hook you up with Ayu, who is my field research assistant, and you can go over. And she's the leader of gamelan, but there's a drum there. But it's all about syncopation and rhythm and offbeat sometimes, and it's like they breathe it. You have to learn it from a really young age to be able to fully embrace the gamelan, but you'll hear it at all hours of the day.
Okay.
So that's that, on that level of sound and vibration, and it's an investment of study. It's not like let me study it for a few weeks. It's a thing. As far as like drumming, hand drum, it's not Balinese at all. So other than the gamelan leading drum, that's a lot like a mudok, which is an Indian drum. I'll also say, I don't know if we've talked about this, but I studied Vedic Chanting in India for almost 10 years, and mantra it's the root of my practice. So I wasn't teaching that there. I was teaching that Hatha yoga. There aren't many other people who are teaching that kind of sounding work. There is Amma Sophia Rose. She's pretty amazing, but she's only there for certain parts of the year. And then Shervin Balorian, who's a friend of mine, he started the Bali Sound Healers Collective. And so Bali has rapidly become really the epicenter, one of the epicenters of sound in the world, and looking specifically at sound healing. So you're right on the shores of the place to be for that work. And he practiced with something called the Tamado technique, which is aligned with Chinese medicine. And his explorations are beautiful. I'm not sure where Shervin's working these days. He's offered at a bunch of different places, but if you just Google Shervin Balorian, or I can connect you with him, you should be able to get in touch. And then the Balinese singing it's like I hope that wasn't offensive, but it's that quality of sound. And it's not Vedic mantra. Even the chanting is not done in the Vedic way. It's done in a Balinese interpretation way, and I only know that from years of living in India and from having studied Vedic mantra. They're not using the mantra tones of sa, re, ni, sa. It's different. There's a lot of kirtan, which is not chanting. It's singing the mantra, and a lot of it's mostly Westerners. I could name a lot of the popular ones, but I will refrain from doing that because you'll find them on your own. But there are kirtans right and left, and flyers up all around town, and you'll get invitations.
It's not really a bad thing too. Kirtan's useful too.
Yeah, it's super beautiful. Of course, when you have a good leader, like Daphne comes into Ubud around Bali Spirit Festival every time, and she's beautiful. And there are a lot of people who do lead beautiful kirtan. Sometimes Pia comes through Bali. Do you know Pia?
No, you mentioned Pia though. You mentioned her.
Oh, I must have. Yeah, she's pretty magical. I didn't first know her from that, from Bali. But yeah, people working with sound in that way. Yeah. Does that answer?
Gives me a start for sure. Yeah, let me just start and go from there. Shervin sounds awesome. That sounds like a good place to go.
So I think I'm going to perhaps run what we just did, completely unfair for anyone watching, online as a webinar.
Okay.
And so always at webinars, we give something away for free at the end. So I'm going to do that. If you want to, you can. Maybe people are interested in learning sound and voice from you. But I'm going to give away what do you want
to give away?
I'm going to give away a blueprint for really how to change your life and get healthy. And so that'll be emailed to you in the form of a PDF when you click on that below. Do you want to give away?
I love that. Let me let you give away during webinar number 1, and I'll give away during webinar number 2. Does that sound good?
Sounds so good. Okay, my love.
Yay, thank you.
So links to both of our websites will be below if anyone's interested. And yeah, I adore you. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me in your used to be home.
Thank you for inspiring presence.
Sure. Totally. Ditto. Ditto, kiddo. Look at all my notes. Woo!
Oh, really? Oh my God.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. It's 9 pages of notes. 9's my favorite number. Thanks.
Perfect. Good place to start.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you.
Love you.
Bye. Signing off.